Let's get it. It's an absolutely gorgeous day here in the Carolinas. I'm here in the QC, the Queen City of the Carolinas, Charlotte, North Carolina. And I'm so glad to see this day. I hope everyone else is well and that you are able to get out and enjoy this day that the Most High has made and given us. And I don't take no days for granted, not one. Nor this time that we share in the secret place. Because I know for a fact I'm not really supposed to be here by men's standards. But as I said at the end of my recording yesterday, with the Most High, all things are possible. And with that, I want to share a thought today that the Most High reminded me of the process. And that's not the name of the thought. The name of the thought is the degrees of separation, the tares and the wheat. And I think it's best that I read over the script before I even talk about what I'm going to talk about today, because it's going to be a summary, I guess you would say, of my life and how the Most High has used my recollection to give me an understanding of the different degrees that it takes to separate us from this world system. Basically, the tares from the wheat. And I'm going to read over the parable of the wheat and the tares coming out of Matthew 13:24 through 30. Another parable he put forth to them, saying, the kingdom of heaven is like a man who sowed good seed in the field. But while men slept, his enemy came and sowed tares among the wheat and went his way. But when the grain had sprouted and produced a crop, then the tares also appeared. So the servants of the owner came and said to him, Sir, did you not sow good seed in your field? How then does it have tares? He said to them, An enemy has done this. The servant said to him, Do you want us to go and gather them up? But he said, No, lest while you gather up the tares, you also uproot the wheat with them. Let both grow together until the harvest. And at the time of the harvest, I will say to the reapers, First gather together the tares and bind them in bundles to burn them, but gather the wheat into my barn. I'm going to read a quick paragraph of my notes. I have shared my testimony about my drug dealing days, getting caught, and serving a little over a year in jail and prison. I've shared about my many addictions and how over the years they have basically held me down and away from what the Most High created me to be and do with this precious gift called life. I've also shared about my major stroke, open heart surgery, brain surgery, procedures to remove blood clots, several operations on my leg to remove blood clots, and finally 3 toes amputated. And while I was in prayer this morning, or seeking the Most High's face on how I was going to perceive this thought first for myself, and then how I would share it. And he was basically telling me that, just as the title, there's degrees to separation. There's degrees to, as I said in my recording yesterday, coming out from among them and being separated to the Most High. There's degrees that we have to go through depending on how deep a level that we have been indoctrinated in this world system, I guess you might say. And with that said, let me read over one more text that I did take note of. And it is Luke 12:48. But he that knew not and did commit things worthy of stripes shall be beaten with few stripes. For unto whomsoever much is given, of him shall be much required. And to whom men have committed much, of him they will ask the more. And the Most High reminded me of that text. He was like, Robert, you've been through so much stuff or afflictions, but I've delivered you out of them all. And remember, I allowed them. And it was for my glory. Because I knew that afterwards, in the long run, that you would tell it. And was going to bring me glory. For you sharing those many afflictions that I delivered you out of all of them. And yeah, I get choked up at times because to hear me saying this reminds me of just how much I have been through. And more than anything else, where the emotions are coming from, is just how much the Most High loves me and has, like I said, allowed me to go down through there. But the whole point of it all, he was down through there with me, gaining a great testimony. And I'm so grateful. Like I said, I don't take for granted these opportunities because I was supposed to be dead 4 years ago this month, well next month, well no, in May. I had that major stroke 4 years ago, going on 4 years ago. And that should have been my demise. And really, when I was out there on them streets selling dope, I came across many situations, and I shared a couple. And see, I don't take anything for granted like those days, because back in those days is where the Most High proved himself to me. Because even though I was in my mess, I was still calling on him, and he was still ordering my steps, per se. I would still call on him, I would still pray, I would still read the Bible. Even though I was in my mess, I had the right upbringing in his word. So I believe that the text is true that says, if you train up a child in the way he should go, when he is older, he won't stray far from it. And I know that may not be in the right, I'm not quoting it correctly, but we get the meaning. But yeah, so the Most High was reminding me today that there are many degrees of separation. And also, we shouldn't be so quickly or so harsh, we shouldn't so harshly judge other folks from where they're at in their life and with the Most High, because he's dealing with them. And there's many different degrees that they may have to go through to be separated unto him in those different areas, just as I was speaking about yesterday, through those addictions. See, every addiction taught me a different side of the Most High. It taught me that he cared for me in that situation, and that, just as I mentioned prior, the script I mentioned prior, that that's an affliction that he wanted to deliver me out of. So he said he'll deliver me out of them all. And I do want to remind us that most of the time, those afflictions are brought upon ourselves, by ourselves. We put ourselves in situations, like I said yesterday, well, in the prior recording, we dig them holes for ourselves. And a lot of times it's over years and years. And I did mention that we a lot of times we're introduced to evil by our loved ones. And just as we're introduced to the evil, they were introduced to the evil. And it's basically a family curse that's going on. And it takes somebody to say, okay, no more, I'm done with this, I'm not going to do this no more, before that curse can be abolished in that family. And it all takes the Most High's removing that stronghold or that strong man. But it takes a strong man of the house to remove the strong man that's held that family in bondage for so long. Okay, I'm going to get up and get busy. I see a couple that keeps walking by this shelter, and I know the folks come here just to smoke because it's out off the way a bit. So I'm gonna give them their space. Let's get it. Most High was just reminding me that we have tares or tares in our own lives that the Most High has to separate out of us. And that process takes one of us growing up and understanding the process. Because no, it's not fun, but like Fantasia says, it's necessary. And see, him allowing us to go through what we go through is necessary. Because that's the only way that we're going to be able to get them tares out of our lives, is by growing up and going through the process of them having their full, what's the word? Benefit? I don't want to say benefit, but letting them play all the way out. Until we've had enough. And see, I learned myself that the only way to get a stronghold out of your life is by having enough of it to where you're past sick and tired of it. And that way you will submit to the help when the Most High offer it to you. It's not going to be a whole bunch of squirming and playing games no more. Because when you had enough, you've had enough. Fam, I had to come back and mention that I did make my walking goal yesterday. I know it showed me only having like 60 or 600 steps or something like that. But I made my goal, and to make sure, I went out with my wife on yesterday evening, and we went to the Walmart and got a little more stepping in. But at the same time, whenever you see me out here walking, that's basically my 1.5 miles, or usually my 1.2 miles, 1.2 miles. And then the rest, I will basically make up for it on the bike to try to accomplish 7 miles a day. My goal is still 6 miles a day. I haven't upped the ante to 7 yet because I don't even want to put that on my plate yet. But since we're doing it, basically I'm doing 7 miles a day. But in some instances I feel a little tight and sore, I'll get my 6 and call it. But let's go and get these squats in. And as I said before, I'm nobody's preacher or minister. All I am is what the text tells me to do. All I do is what the text tells me to do, and that is submit myself as a living sacrifice. And that's all I do every day I get out here. All I do is show forth the works of the Most High in telling my testimony. And see, not only does it help other folks overcome, but it helps me overcome, because I'm strengthened by what the Most High has done for me in the past, every time I recollect or rethink it or think about it again, I bring that same faith back up on the inside that I had once he delivered me out of that situation. So I dare not forget where he brought me from. And I dare not forget where he's taken me to. And it's my job to get out here every day he leaves me and share a thought about how good he has been to me and or being to me. And with that said, I'm gonna jump on this bike. Most High willing, we're gonna get us 5 miles in or more. But as always, I love y'all. Stay up and keep pushing forward in the right direction. Shalom, shalom, shalom. Oh yeah, one more thing. Like I was saying in the beginning about the Most High having to purge our lives from mess and not to be hard on other people that are themselves going through that purging process. Because as I always remember, as I used to be there, and give people a little grace and mercy, and continue to pray for them, and continue to give them your testimony. See, a lot of folks would simply believe in the Most High because they know what kind of fool and hellion I was. And this is true. I was out there, but the Most High had a purpose in letting me go so far and then snatching me back to reality. Okay, I think I've exhausted all of my thoughts on this idea or thought for today. So let's get on this bike and put forth a great effort in the hopes of accomplishing this 30-minute goal. I've come close to it on my new route, but I haven't quite gotten it yet. I'm pretty much stuck like I was on my route coming through the infield at 35 minutes. But even that is a valiant effort because of where I come from an hour and 10 minutes or so. But we'll get it. We keep putting forth the strong effort. We'll get it. Okay, let's get on this bike. like your bike, buddy.